The morning sun of Kethros 7 was not like Earth's sun. It was larger, redder, and it painted the sky in shades of blood and rust. Maya Chen stood at the starting platform and looked at the wilderness ahead. Mountains rose in the distance like broken teeth. Somewhere beyond them lay volcanic fields, frozen peaks, and 200 kilometers of death. She was 17 years old. She was human. And according to everyone watching, she had no chance of winning. The Galactic Youth Survival Challenge happened once every 5 years. Young people from 12 different species came to compete. They would race across one of the most dangerous planets in the Orion Arm. The winners received scholarships to the Unified Military Academy, the most respected institution in known space. For species like humans, who had only joined galactic society 50 years ago, it was a chance to prove themselves. Maya looked to her left. Her younger brother Danny stood beside her, checking his pack for the third time. He was 14, small for his age, with the same dark hair and determined eyes as his sister. He should not have been there. The minimum age was 16, but Danny had qualified through a technical error in the registration system. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late to remove him. "Stop worrying," Maya said. "You qualified. You belong here." Danny did not look convinced. "Everyone keeps staring at us." He was right. The other competitors watched the two humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to open contempt. There were the Kreeth, insectoid beings with 6 legs and compound eyes. The Moravians stood apart from everyone, their silicon-based bodies reflecting the red sunlight like living mirrors. The Durrani competitors moved in perfect synchronization, their telepathic bond allowing them to function as one mind in 3 bodies. And then there were the Velthari. Maya had studied all the competing species, but the Velthari worried her the most. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with 4 arms and gray skin that was thick as leather. They came from a heavy gravity world and were natural apex predators. Their team had won the last 3 challenges. Their leader was named Crix. He walked toward Maya and Danny now, his 4 arms folded across his chest. 2 of his teammates followed behind him, their sharp teeth visible in something that might have been a smile. "The humans," Crix said. His voice was deep and rumbling. "I wondered if you would actually show up." Maya met his eyes. She had learned that predator species respected direct eye contact. "We registered like everyone else." "Yes, you did." Crix looked at Danny, and his smile grew wider. "Even the little one. Tell me, does your species not care about its children? This race has a 30% fatality rate." 15%, Maya corrected. "And we can handle it." Crix laughed. The sound was not pleasant. "Humans, you have been in space for such a short time. You do not yet understand your place." He leaned closer to Maya. "Let me help you understand. I want to make a bet." "What kind of bet?" "The losing team between us forfeits their species entry into this challenge for the next decade." Crix spread his forearms wide. "If you lose, no humans compete for 10 years. If we lose, no Velthari compete for 10 years. Danny grabbed Maya's arm. "Maya, don't." "Deal," Maya said. Crix blinked. He had clearly expected her to refuse. "You accept? Just like that?" "Just like that." For a moment, Crix seemed uncertain. Then he laughed again and walked away. "Brave," he called over his shoulder. "Stupid, but brave. I look forward to watching you fail." When he was gone, Danny turned to his sister. "Why did you do that? If we lose, we won't lose. Maya, be realistic. The Velthari are stronger, faster, and they know this terrain. They've won 3 times in a row." Maya knelt down to meet her brother's eyes. "Danny, listen to me. Do you know why humans survived on Earth? We weren't the strongest. We weren't the fastest. We didn't have claws or fangs or venom. But we had something else." "What?" "We never gave up. When we hunted, we didn't chase our prey and catch it quickly like other predators. We followed it. For hours, for days. We walked and walked until the animal was too tired to run anymore. That's what we are, Danny. We're the species that doesn't stop." The starting horn sounded across the platform. Competitors began moving toward the edge, where the wilderness of Kethros 7 waited. Maya stood and shouldered her pack, Stay close to me. Conserve your energy. Let the others burn themselves out trying to take the lead. We'll run our own race. They stepped off the platform together and entered the jungle. The first hours were chaos. Teams sprinted ahead, crashing through the thick vegetation, desperate to establish early leads. Maya and Danny kept a steady pace, eating up kilometers without exhausting themselves. They passed competitors who had already stopped to rest, their early speed costing them dearly. By sunset, they had covered 40 kilometers. They made camp in a small cave, eating protein bars and drinking recycled water. Outside, the jungle screamed with alien sounds. Something large moved through the trees nearby, but it did not approach their shelter. "We're doing okay," Danny said, checking their position on his tablet. Middle of the pack, ahead of the Kreth and the Solari. Maya nodded. "The Velthari? Leading. By a lot. That's fine. Let them tire themselves out." Maya lay back and closed her eyes. "Get some sleep. We move again in 4 hours." Danny was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Maya, thank you for not leaving me behind. You're my brother," Maya said simply. There was never another option. She did not know then how much those words would come to mean. She did not know what waited for them in the canyon ahead. She did not know that in 16 hours, everything would change. But she would learn. The race had only just begun. 16 hours into the race, Danny found the canyon. They had been moving through rocky terrain for most of the morning. The jungle was behind them now, replaced by gray stone and sparse vegetation. The red sun beat down without mercy. Maya's legs ached, but she ignored the pain. Pain was just information. It did not have to control her. "Maya, look." Danny pointed to a narrow gap between two cliff faces. "The map shows this canyon cuts straight through the mountains. If we take it, we could save 6 hours. Maybe more." Maya studied the canyon entrance. It was dark inside, the walls rising so high that sunlight barely reached the bottom. Something about it felt wrong. "I don't know," she said. "It's too convenient. But the time we'd save. Let me check something." Maya pulled out her tablet and looked at the tracker data. It showed the positions of all teams in the race. The Velthari were far ahead, but their signal had stopped moving 30 minutes ago. They were somewhere nearby. Maya felt ice in her stomach. "Danny, we should go around. That would take forever." "Come on, Maya. We need to take risks if we want to win." Danny was already walking toward the canyon entrance. Maya wanted to stop him, but she could not explain the fear she felt. Maybe she was being paranoid. Maybe the canyon was exactly what it looked like. A shortcut that other teams had missed. She followed her brother into the darkness. The canyon was narrow enough that they had to walk single file. The walls pressed close on either side. Above them, the strip of red sky grew thinner and thinner. Maya kept her hand on the rock, feeling her way forward. They had walked for 10 minutes when Danny stopped. "Maya," he whispered. "Someone's here." She saw them now. 4 tall shapes blocking the path ahead. The Velthari team stood in the shadows, waiting. Crix was at the front, his forearms relaxed at his sides. He was smiling. "Hello, humans," Crix said. "We were hoping you would find this place." Maya grabbed Danny's arm and started to back away. But more Velthari emerged behind them, blocking the exit. They were trapped. "What do you want?" Maya asked. Her voice was steady, but her heart was pounding. "I want to win," Crix said simply. "And you humans have become an annoyance. Other species are starting to watch you, starting to wonder if perhaps humans are not as weak as we thought." He took a step forward. "I cannot allow that. The race officials will see. They will see an accident. A tragic rock slide that injured one of the human competitors." Crix gestured to the canyon walls. "These rocks are very unstable. It would be so easy for something to fall." Maya understood then. This was not about the race anymore. This was about fear. The Velthari were afraid of what humans might become. They wanted to crush that potential before it could grow. "Danny, run," Maya said. But it was too late. Crix moved faster than she could track. He slammed his body against the canyon wall, and the rocks above them shifted. Maya heard the terrible grinding sound of stone against stone. She threw herself at Danny, trying to shield him, trying to push him out of the way. She was not fast enough. The boulder came down on Danny's leg with a sound like breaking wood. Danny screamed a terrible, animal sound that Maya would hear in her nightmares for years to come. She screamed too, scrambling to reach him, to help him. But the Velthari were already backing away. "Call for medical extraction," Crick said. He was still smiling. "Your race is over. Both of you are done." Then they were gone, disappearing into the darkness of the canyon like ghosts. Maya fell to her knees beside her brother. Danny was crying, his hands clutching at his leg. The boulder had crushed it below the knee. Bone was visible through torn flesh. Blood pooled on the canyon floor. "Maya," Danny gasped. "Maya, it hurts. It hurts so much. I know. Maya's hands were shaking, but she forced them to be still. She could not panic. Panic would kill them both. "I'm going to help you. Just breathe." She pulled her emergency kit from her pack. The supplies inside were limited bandages, painkillers, a basic splint. It was not enough. It would never be enough. But she had no other choice. Maya gave Danny the painkillers first. Then, working as quickly as she could, she cleaned the wound and wrapped it tight. She found 2 straight pieces of metal in her pack and used them to create a splint. Danny screamed again when she set the bone, and the sound nearly broke her. When it was done, Danny lay still. His face was gray and covered in sweat. His breathing was shallow. "Medical extraction," he whispered. "You need to call for extraction." Maya knew the rules. Medical extraction meant automatic disqualification. If she called for help, they would both be removed from the race. The Velthari would win. Humans would be banned from competition for 10 years. Everything they had worked for would be lost. But Danny would live. She reached for the emergency beacon on her belt. Then she stopped. "Maya?" Danny's voice was barely audible. "What are you doing?" Maya looked at her brother. She looked at the blood on her hands. She looked at the narrow strip of sky above them. Red as fire. "I'm going to win this race," she said. Danny's eyes went wide. "What?" "Listen to me." Maya grabbed his hand and squeezed. "If I call for extraction, we both lose. But if I finish the race, they'll send ships to collect all the competitors. They'll come for you. Maya, you can't. I'm hurt. You can't leave me here. I have to." Maya was crying now, but her voice was steady. "I'm going to mark your location. I'm going to finish this race, and when I cross that finish line, I'm going to make sure they come for you first." She programmed her beacon to broadcast Danny's coordinates. She gave him her water, her food, everything she could spare. She built a small shelter from rocks and her emergency blanket. Then she stood. "Stay alive," she told her brother. "That's your only job now. Stay alive until I come back for you." Danny reached for her hand. "Maya, please, I love you," Maya said. "I'll see you at the finish line." She turned and ran into the darkness of the canyon. Behind her, Danny's cries echoed off the stone walls. Each one felt like a knife in her heart. But she did not stop. She could not stop. The Velthari thought they had broken her. They thought leaving her brother to die would destroy her. They were wrong. They had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Maya ran through the night. The red sun set behind the mountains, and darkness swallowed Kithros 7. Strange stars filled the sky patterns that no human had grown up watching, constellations with no names in any Earth language. Maya did not look up. She kept her eyes on the ground ahead, watching for rocks and roots and anything that might slow her down. She was 14 hours behind the leaders. She had half her supplies. Her brother was dying somewhere behind her, alone in a canyon with a crushed leg and fading hope, and she was not going to stop. In the orbital station above the planet, race officials monitored all the competitors. Screens showed heat signatures, heart rates, and movement speeds. Most teams had stopped to rest for the night. Even the Velthari, confident in their lead, had made camp in a sheltered valley. One signal kept moving. "Is that the human?" a Kreth official asked. He leaned closer to the screen. his compound eyes reflecting the glow. "She's still running? She has been running for 19 hours straight," another official replied. This one was Solari, a plant-based species that barely understood the concept of physical exhaustion. "Her heart rate is elevated but stable. She shows no signs of stopping." "That's impossible. Her brother was injured. We detected the damage to his leg. She left him behind." The room went quiet. On the screen, Maya's signal continued moving north, eating up kilometers at a pace that seemed impossible for a species with such short legs. "Why?" the Kreeth official asked. "Why would she do that?" No one had an answer. Maya did not think about the officials watching her. She did not think about the other competitors or the Velthari, or even the race itself. She thought only about Danny. Every step was for Danny. Every breath was for Danny. Her body wanted to stop. Her muscles burned with a fire that grew hotter with each passing hour. Her feet had developed blisters that popped and bled inside her boots. Her lungs felt like they were filled with broken glass. She kept running. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest or the smartest or the most technologically advanced. But they had one gift that no other species truly understood. They could keep going when every cell in their body screamed for rest. They could push past limits that other species did not even know existed. On ancient Earth, Maya's ancestors had hunted by chasing their prey for days at a time. They did not catch animals by being fast. They caught them by being relentless. They ran and walked and ran again until the animal's heart gave out, until it simply could not take another step. Maya felt that ancient programming wake up inside her now. Something deep in her DNA remembered what it meant to be a persistence hunter. Her body stopped asking permission to rest. It simply kept moving, one foot in front of the other, hour after hour after hour. The sun rose again, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. Maya had not slept. She had barely eaten. She had covered 60 kilometers during the night, and she was still moving. The Kreeth team woke to find her passing their camp. They had bedded down in a grove of crystal trees, confident that their early morning start would keep them ahead of the remaining competitors. When their scouts spotted movement on the ridge above them, they assumed it was an animal. Then they saw the human girl. Maya moved past them without speaking. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead. Her face was blank, focused, almost peaceful. She did not seem to notice them at all. "What is she doing?" one of the Kreeth asked. "She looks half dead. She's still moving," another replied. "How is she still moving?" They watched her disappear over the ridge. None of them followed. Something about the way she moved made them afraid. By midday, Maya had passed 3 more teams. Word began to spread through the race. The human girl was coming. The human girl who had left her brother behind. The human girl who did not stop. In their camp, the Velthari heard the reports. Krix dismissed them with a wave of his forearms. "She's running on anger," he said. "Anger burns hot, but it burns fast. She will collapse before she reaches the mountains." "What if she doesn't?" one of his teammates asked. Krix's eyes narrowed. "She will. Humans are weak. Everyone knows this." But when they broke camp and continued the race, Krix found himself looking over his shoulder more often than before. Maya passed the mountains as the sun began to set again. She had now been running for 31 hours. Her vision was starting to blur at the edges. Sometimes she thought she heard Danny calling her name, and she would turn, expecting to see him behind her. He was never there. She kept running. The second night was harder than the first. Her body had used up its reserves. She was running on something deeper now, something that had no name in any language. It was the part of her that remembered 10,000 generations of humans who had refused to die. It was the part that said one more step, just one more step, until one more step became a million. When the sun rose on the 3rd day, Maya could see the volcanic fields ahead. The Crucible, they called it. 30 kilometers of black glass and thermal vents where the temperature could kill an unprotected person in minutes. It was the final obstacle before the extraction point. Maya had caught up to 4th place. The Velthari were still ahead of her, in 2nd place behind the Moravians. But the gap was closing. In the orbital station, the officials watched in silence. The human girl had been running for 43 hours. She had covered 150 kilometers. By every medical standard they knew, She should have been dead, but she was still moving. What is she? The Kreeth official asked. His voice was very quiet. The Solari official did not answer. But something that might have been respect had entered their expression. Maya stood at the edge of the crucible. Heat washed over her face. The black glass stretched toward the horizon like a frozen ocean. Somewhere on the other side was the finish line. Somewhere on the other side was the ship that would save her brother. She took a breath. She kept running. The crucible burned beneath Maya's feet. The volcanic glass was sharp enough to cut through her boots. Each step sent pain shooting up through her legs. The thermal vents released jets of steam that could boil flesh in seconds. The air was so hot that breathing felt like swallowing fire. Maya kept moving. She had entered the crucible 3 hours ago. The black glass reflected the red sun, creating a landscape that looked like something from a nightmare. Steam rose in columns all around her. The ground cracked and groaned beneath her weight. Ahead, she could see the Velthari team. They were struggling. The heavy gravity species was built for strength, not endurance. The heat was affecting them badly. Their gray skin had turned pale, and they moved slowly, picking their way across the glass with obvious exhaustion. Maya felt something cold settle into her chest. It was not anger. Anger was too hot, too wasteful. This was something deeper. This was the quiet certainty of a predator that has finally caught up to its prey. Crix heard her footsteps first. He turned, and his 4 eyes went wide. The human girl was behind them. She should have been dead. She should have collapsed days ago. But there she was, walking across the volcanic glass like death itself. Impossible, Crix breathed. Maya did not respond. She just kept walking, closing the distance between them step by step. Stop her. Crix ordered his team. Don't let her pass. The 3 other Velthari spread out to block the path. They were bigger than Maya, stronger, with claws and thick skin. Any one of them could have torn her apart in a fair fight. Maya stopped. She looked at Crix with eyes that held no fear, no anger, nothing but cold determination. You should have made sure he was dead, she said. Her voice was rough from dehydration, but every word was clear. Now I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did. Crix laughed, but there was no humor in it. What we did? We won. That's what the strong do. We win. And the weak die. My brother isn't dead yet. He will be soon. And so will you. Crix lunged forward. His 4 arms reached for Maya, claws extended. He was fast, faster than she expected. But Maya had not survived 48 hours of running by being slow to react. She dropped low, letting his claws pass over her head. Then she came up hard, driving her elbow into his throat. Crix gagged and stumbled back. The other Velthari attacked from 3 directions. Maya moved between them like water, using their size against them. She could not match their strength. She could not match their reach, but they were tired from the race. And she was running on something beyond exhaustion. One of them grabbed her arm. She twisted, feeling something pop in her shoulder, but she slipped free. Another swung at her head. She ducked and kicked his knee, sending him crashing to the glass. Crix recovered and came at her again. This time his blow connected. Maya felt her ribs crack under the impact. She fell to the ground, gasping, tasting blood in her mouth. Stay down, Crix said. He stood over her, breathing hard. Stay down and die like you should have died 2 days ago. Maya looked up at him. Blood dripped from her lip. Her ribs screamed with every breath. Every part of her body begged her to stop, to give up, to let the darkness take her. She thought of Danny. Alone in that canyon, waiting for her. No, she said. She got up. Crix hit her again. She fell. She got up. He hit her a 3rd time. She fell. She got up. The other Velthari watched in horror. They had seen many species fight. They had seen many species die, but they had never seen anything like this. The human girl kept getting up. No matter how many times they knocked her down, she kept getting up. What are you? One of them whispered. Maya smiled. Her teeth were red with blood. I'm human. She lunged at Crix. He was not expecting it. He was too confused, too afraid of this thing that would not stay down. Her fist connected with his face. and she felt his nose break under her knuckles. Crick screamed and fell back. Maya kept moving, pushing past the other Velthari before they could react. Her broken ribs sent lightning bolts of pain through her chest with every step. She did not care. Behind her, she heard Crick shouting, "Stop her! Don't let her reach the finish!" But his team did not move. They stood there, watching the human girl stumble across the volcanic glass, and they did not follow. "What are you doing?" Crix demanded. "She's right there. We can still catch her." "No," one of them said quietly. "We can't." Maya did not hear them. She did not hear anything but the sound of her own heartbeat and the crunch of glass beneath her feet. The finish line was somewhere ahead. The ship that would save Danny was somewhere ahead. She kept moving. The edge of the crucible appeared like a mirage. Cool air washed over her face. Green grass stretched toward the horizon. And there, on a plateau overlooking an acid sea, she could see the extraction point. 3 ships waited there, gleaming in the red sunlight. Maya's legs gave out. She fell to her knees, then to her hands. Her vision was darkening. Her body was finally, truly failing, but the finish line was only 500 meters away. She started to crawl, hand over hand, knee over knee, dragging herself across the grass toward the ships. Every movement sent fire through her broken ribs. Every breath was a battle, but she kept crawling. 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters. The officials at the extraction point watched in stunned silence. They had seen the Moravians cross the finish line 20 minutes ago, claiming first place with quiet dignity. Now they watched a human girl crawl toward them, leaving a trail of blood in the grass behind her. 100 meters. Maya's arm stopped working. She lay flat on the ground, her cheek pressed against the cool grass. The finish line was so close. So close. She thought of Danny, his smile, his laugh, the way he always believed in her, even when no one else did. She started pulling herself forward with her fingers. 50 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters. The crowd that had gathered at the extraction point was completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Maya Chen crossed the finish line. Second place. She had won the bet. The last thing she heard before she lost consciousness was her own voice. Barely a whisper. "Danny. Get Danny." Then the darkness took her. Maya woke up in a medical bay. The ceiling above her was white and smooth, marked with the subtle patterns of alien technology. Machines hummed softly around her bed, monitoring her vital signs in languages she could not read. She tried to sit up, and pain exploded through her chest. "Easy." A gentle hand pressed her back down. "Your ribs are still healing. The regeneration process needs another few hours." Maya turned her head. A Solari medic stood beside her bed, their plant-based bodies swaying slightly in the artificial breeze of the ship's ventilation system. Their expression was hard to read, but something in their posture suggested respect. "Danny," Maya said. Her voice cracked. "He's alive." The words hit her like a wave. Maya felt tears streaming down her face, and she did not try to stop them. "We reached him 6 hours ago," the medic continued. "His leg was badly damaged, but we were able to stabilize him. He's in surgery now. The doctors are confident he will make a full recovery." Maya closed her eyes. For the first time in 3 days, she allowed herself to breathe. Really breathe. The weight that had been crushing her chest finally lifted. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me." The medic's voice was strange, almost wondering. "Thank yourself. You did something that no one thought was possible. The entire galaxy is talking about it." Maya did not care about the galaxy. She only cared that Danny was safe. She slept. When she woke again, Danny was there. He sat in a chair beside her bed, his leg wrapped in a glowing blue cast that pulsed with healing energy. His face was pale and thin, but his eyes were bright. When he saw her looking at him, he smiled. "Hey," he said. "Hey yourself." They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Danny reached out and took her hand. "You came back for me," he said. His voice trembled. "You actually came back. I told you I would. I know. But I didn't think." He stopped, wiping his eyes with his free hand. "When they found me, The rescue team said you had already crossed the finish line. They said you crawled the last 50 meters. They said you wouldn't let anyone touch you until you were sure they were sending a ship for me. Maya squeezed his hand. You're my brother. There was never another option. Danny laughed. And then he was crying. And then Maya was crying too. And they held each other in that white room while machines hummed around them and alien stars burned outside the window. The days that followed passed in a blur. Maya learned that her race had been broadcast to billions of viewers across the galaxy. The footage of her running through the night, never stopping, never resting, had been watched more times than any event in the history of the challenge. Species that had never heard of humans before were now studying them with intense interest. The Veltari had been disqualified. Maya's suit cameras had recorded everything that happened in the canyon. The rock slide, Crix's words, the deliberate attack on Danny. When the officials reviewed the footage, they banned the entire Veltari team for life. Their species was forbidden from competing for 20 years, twice the penalty that Crix had tried to force onto humans. But Maya did not care about revenge. She had something better. On the day before she was scheduled to return to Earth, she received a visitor. The Moravian leader entered her room without announcement. Their silicon body clicked softly against the floor with each step. They were tall and strange and ancient, a being from a species that had been traveling the stars when humans were still learning to make fire. Maya Chen, they said. Their voice was like wind through crystal caves. I wished to speak with you before you departed. Maya sat up carefully. Her ribs had healed, but she still felt the echo of pain. About what? The Moravian was silent for a long moment. When they spoke again, their words were slow and deliberate. We have watched your species for some time. Since you first left your planet and began reaching toward the stars, we have debated among ourselves what you might become. Some of us believed you were too young, too fragile, too brief in your lifespans to matter. Others believed you might have potential. They paused. I did not believe. I thought humans were weak, soft, a species that would burn bright for a generation and then fade into obscurity. The Moravian's crystalline eyes seemed to glow brighter. I was wrong. Maya did not know what to say. What you did in this race was not about strength. The Moravian continued. It was not about speed or intelligence or technology. It was about something else. Something we have not seen in a very long time. What? Maya asked. Refusal. The word hung in the air like a bell's echo. You refused to accept the outcome that everyone expected. You refused to let your brother die. You refused to let your body stop you. You simply refused to fail. The Moravian moved closer. This is why your species is dangerous. Not your weapons, not your ships, not your science. It is this. When the universe tells you that something is impossible, you do not listen. You simply refuse to accept it, and then you make it possible through sheer will. Maya thought about her ancestors on ancient Earth. The ones who had chased prey across endless savannas, the ones who had crossed oceans in wooden boats, the ones who had looked up at the stars and said, "We will go there." That's what we do, she said simply. We keep going. The Moravian nodded slowly. Yes, and that is why we voted to support humanity's full membership in the Galactic Council. That is why your species will be given a permanent seat at our table. They turned to leave, then paused at the door. We look forward to seeing what you refuse to accept next. Then they were gone. 3 months later, Maya stood at the entrance ceremony for the Unified Military Academy. Danny stood beside her, his leg fully healed, a matching acceptance letter in his hand. They had both been admitted the first humans to earn full scholarships through the challenge. Around them, representatives from 100 species watched, some with curiosity, some with fear, some with something that looked like hope. Maya thought about everything she had lost in that race. The blood, the pain, the 3 days when she was certain she would die. She thought about everything she had gained. A brother who was alive. A future that was open. A galaxy that finally knew what humans were capable of. An official approached the podium and called her name. Maya Chen walked forward to accept her scholarship. Behind her, Danny cheered louder than anyone else in the crowd. Above her, alien stars burned in an unfamiliar sky. She was human. She was tired. She was just getting started, and she would never, ever stop.